So good holy class. So for today's panel discussion, we are going to discuss about neo-behaviorism by Tolman and Bandura's theory. But before we formally start to our discussion, let me first introduce ourselves. I am your today's panel teacher, Miss Angel Kate and Buok, together with
I'm your Eduardo Dimo Jr.
Hannah Di Mautang.
And I am Fledeline Grace A. Peron.
So, to formally start our discussion, let me ask first, what is neo-behaviorism?
So, neo-behaviorism is a behavior that cannot be fully understood simply in terms of observable stimuli and reactions. Neo-behaviorism introduced meditating variables into the behaviorist stimulus response scheme.
So, thank you, Mr. Dimo. So, neo-behaviorism is a behavior that cannot be fully understood simply in terms of stimuli and reaction, sabi nga kanina ni Mr. Dimo. So, neo-behaviorism has its aspects of behavior, but it also reaches out to the cognitive perspective. So, in education, it is used to understand how people learn what they need in order to be successful. So, now we have two theories reflecting on it. First, we have Tolman's purposive, and the second one is the Bandura's social learning theory. So class, we will be focusing first on Tolman's purposive behaviorism. So let me ask, what is Tolman's purposive behaviorism?
Tolman purposive behaviorism was also known as sign learning theory. First, learning is a cognitive process. Second, learning is acquired through meaningful behavior.
Okay, so the stimuli are not connected by just simple one-to-one switches to the outgoing responses. Rather, the incoming impulses are usually worked over and elaborated in the central control room into a tentative cognitive, like a map of the environment.
A new stimulus or sign becomes associated with already meaningful stimuli. This significant or through the series of pairings, there was no need for reinforcement in order to establish learning.
So thank you everyone for answering the question. So next, Miss Lima Udtang, who is Edward Tolman?
Edward Tolman was born on April 14, 1886 in West Newton, Massachusetts, US. He died on November 19, 1959 at Berkeley, California. He is an American psychologist who developed a system of psychology known as purposive or molar behaviorism, which attempts to explore the interaction of total organism.
Thank you, Miss Lima Udtang. So Tolman's purposive behaviorism has a key concept or key stages, and those are goal-directedness, cognitive maps, latent learning, and intervening variables. So Miss Boron, what is goal-directedness?
Tolman's
May I answer, ma'am?
Yes, Mr. Dimo.
So Tolman's goal-directedness, a key concept or learning is always purposive and goal-directed, which individuals do more than merely respond to stimuli. They act on beliefs, attitude, changing conditions, and they strive towards goal. And also, having a clear goals makes it easier to the learners to focus on the essential topics they must learn. Learning without a purpose is worth nothing. Students will not be motivated to attend class and partake in discussion.
So thank you, Mr. Dimo. So Mr. Dimo, can I ask if what is cognitive maps?
So, Thurman's K-concept cognitive maps is a famous experiment on rat concluded that organisms, individual to be exact, learn the locations and will select the purpose or easiest part of the maps, allow the learners to learn such things.
How about latent learning, Miss Dimaudtang?
Latent learning is a learning that remains or stays with the individual until needed. This learning is outwardly manifest at once. Learners who already have prior knowledge on the topic, it is easier for the learners to perform well. It also allows them to develop their exciting knowledge and skills. Yun lang po, ma'am.
So, yes, thank you, Miss Dimaudtang. So, what do you think of intervening variables, Miss Boron?
So intervening variable is a variables that are not readily seen but serves as determinants of behavior. Learning is mediated or influenced by expectations, perceptions, representations that needs, and other internal or environmental variables. So learning needs a lot of attention and focus. If a person has a lot going on their mind, they tend to lose focus. Thus, making learning is ineffective.
So, thank you, everyone, for answering those questions. So, Tolman's purposive behaviorism, in summary, was also known as signing learning. It is the learning by acquiring meaningful behavior. So Tolman's proposed learning types such as learning are always purposive and goal-directed, cognitive maps, latent learning, and concept intervening variables. So all depends upon the means and the result of the behavior. So Tolman's theory believes that individuals act according to their beliefs and goals. So thus, he concluded that people would select the shortest and easiest path to achieve their goals, making the circumstances a significant factor that affects their behavior. So, since Tolman's purposive behaviorism is about acquiring meaningful behavior, we, as a future teacher and or as a teacher, administer a teaching application that will affect to our learners self-efficacy and goals. So to incorporate the information that is most likely to result in action that benefits their goals and purpose in learning. So we as a teacher giving assistance and encouragement to our learners to establish a clear goal that will motivate their um, learning in the future. So is it clear or do you have any questions about Tolman's purposive behaviorism? Anyone?
And so,
None
So
po.
thank you. So proceed tayo sa next second theory. So we've done discussing about Tolman's purposive behaviorism. Now let's proceed to Bandura's social learning theory. So Mr. Dimo, what is Bandura's social learning theory?
So, Bandura's social learning theory was also known as the observational learning. This theory emphasizes learning through observations of others. We learn not only how to perform a behavior, but also what will happen to us.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dimo. So Miss Boron, who is Albert Bandura?
Albert Bandura was born on December 4 in the year 1925 at Mondare, Alberta, Canada. He died on July 26 in the year 2001 at Stanford, California, US. Albert Bandura was a Canadian-born American psychologist and originator of social cognitive theory who is probably best known for his modeling study on aggression, referred to as the Bobo doll experiment, which demonstrated that children can learn behaviors through the observation of adults.
So thank you, Ms. Boron. So Bandura's social learning theory has his types of stages, and those are general principle, modeling, and four conditions for effective learning. So what are the general principles of social learning theory, Ms. Dimaudtang?
First, people can learn by observing the behavior of the others and outcomes of those behaviors. Second is learning can occur without and change in behavior. Third, cognition plays a role in learning. Fourth is social learning theory can be considered a bridge or a transition between behaviorist learning theories and cognitive learning theories.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Mautang. So for our modeling, how environment and punishes modeling people are often to reinforce for modeling the behavior of others. Well, Bandura suggested that environment also reinforces modeling in several possible ways, and those are.
So first are the observer is reinforced by the model. Second is the observer reinforced by a third person. Third, the imitated behavior itself leads to reinforcing consequences. And the fourth, consequences of the model's behavior affect the observer's behavior vigorously.
So thank you, Ms. Baron. So what behavior that can be learned through modeling? Can Mr. Dimo answer the question?
So many behaviors can be learned at least part through modeling. We have first is aggression can be learned through models. Second is moral thinking and moral behavior are influenced by observation and modeling. The lastly is moral judgment regarding right and wrong, which can in part or develop through modeling.
So for what is the four elements of observational learning?
The four elements of observational learning is first, attention, mental focus or concentration, willingness of a child to observe, and the behavior of a model. Second is retention, to encode the behavior in the memory, ability to store information. Third, production, to actually perform the behavior observed. Fourth, motivation, reinforcement, force that drives on the act. Ma'am.
So thank you for your answer, everyone. So for Albert Bandura's social learning, his theory suggested, or it suggests that an indi- an indi- sorry, an individual rather an individual through observation and how modeling is a primary factor in this process. The framework of social learning theory is made up of three main principles. So, yun na yung sinabi kanina. So, the first is the notion that people can learn from observing others. The idea that internal cognitive processes are an essential part of this mechanism. Eventually, this principle acknowledges that because something has been established does not guarantee that it will lead to a shift in behavior. So, for Bandura's theory think that an individual can learn through observation. Ika nga, sabi niya kanina, di ba? Well, sa discussion natin. So with this, we provide them examples that they can gain knowledge with. So having a role model to emulate will motivate the learners as they see the result of such actions. So having a good impact also encourages them and improve their behavior and increase positive factors into their learning stage. So nakakatulong talaga sa students natin. Next, Mr. Dimo.
So at this moment, as we a future teacher, how will I apply or how we will apply the theories in our own classroom? So as we future teacher, we will apply Bandura's social learning theory to encourage this by the students to do desirable behavior or what we want to teach for them or what we want to teach into our classroom. Because Albert Banduras believed that social learning theory occurs within a social context. I let them to speak and participate in my class with my positive reinforcement and rewards. I consider their learning capabilities to obtain knowledge or strengthening from one another. While Tolman's theory was focus on the purposive behavior that make my students to be goal directed or goal oriented. I let my students to use their critical thinking to obtain knowledge from what they are doing, or because through that task my students will be conditioned to learn, and the stimulus or response of my students will be observable upon doing the given task. So as we future teacher, as a conclusion of these theories, it could be applicable in our classroom, no? And it should be balanced for giving them holistic learning, and consider their behavior kung paano sila nagle-learn. So that's all.
So, so thank you, Mr. Dimo, for that idea. So everyone, thank you for your participation, and um, dito na nagtatapos yung panel discussion natin. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. God bless
Thank you so much,
everyone.
ma'am. God bless.
Bye.